he's able to provide Canadian customers with, let's say, you want to do winter tires. So all of a sudden you'll receive an app or an ad for winter tires on your app. However, you won't get bombarded in your email. It'll be in the app. In the app, now have to download on the offer. It's not going to be too pushy, as Alan McDonald said. And an interesting thing, I looked up what Canadian Tire dollars have been used for. One guy in Toronto asked people to donate $6,000 and was able to fund the recording of his album at the studio with his $11,000. Other people bought lawnmowers worth more than $1,000. I want to know, what do you use your Canadian dollars for? Tweet me at Christina Martin.
We're going to get some of those Canadian dollars. Home Depot warning Canadian American customers that use their credit cards at stores and have their information stolen. Retailers confirm this card payments not blocked by the breach. Those paid at the BNN more details. Here's farmers and no bars producing a smaller than box for support. This thing's more expensive for your unit. However, the books are BT on the affiliate. 7% of your customers want to purchases at an online store. Largest cereal mills and those best back in cheese for $800 million US. And he's up 38% today. Just about to tell us what's happening with the story, a bit of a health food.
Big health, like all about organic, that's the must-have for general overall reaction from Wall Street analysts is they do this to get strategy for where the general health. And that's because the organic market is growing. In the United States, it's double in the next 4 years. That's because customers want healthier options, especially now for general at a time when their product portfolio is lagging revenue challenge because conventional products are selling less. Customers want those healthier options. And it's a Bush saying that general is aggressive, well, in fact, saying that general needs growth, and this acquisition will help it get much growth.
And obviously, we're looking beyond quarters and years, even the long-term trend that we get to the consumers wanting more of these kind of things.
Convenience, organic, that's the new norm. There was a time when people said it was craze, right? Especially with Whole Foods, retail, the market. Now that's the norm. And that's what the super tastes in 4 areas. One is organic. They want more natural, fresh foods, gluten. Everyone's talking their weight. And so these are the things that motivated General Mills to make this acquisition. Right now, General Mills' product portfolio is about a quarter in the better food options. And what the food this company is, they want to about 50% of the long term. So that motivated the acquisition.
And part of it, too, I think earlier the story was Whole Foods to get a pure health food players are actually in the country because you get these big companies in there. Let's start from down.
And also food Andes, right? They're using organic food, that's the more products, imagine food snacks, granola bars, all areas, especially granola bars and food snacks that where consumers shifting their preferences and
So thanks for that, Chitra. That's Chitra Nada. Still ahead, we're taking a look at the day's big market movers with Mark Bunting. We're going to be back in just That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
That's fascinating. Here we go. All the secrets.
Yeah? There's a 2-minute lag. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Amber, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hainsworth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hainsworth.
Yes. What's a red tea? I had it today.
Turn on the new feed. Take a look at what's happening on the market. Toronto and my final thoughts are quickly selling going on in your story today. Energy, it was yesterday, energy was under pressure, now they have to accept their 0.5%. Price of crude is ahead, up ahead of inventories tomorrow. Thinking is there that inventory shrank now support when improved prices were eating yesterday. Yes, actually almost a daily basis. See where we are. Highs are today. The new high for the session, pulling back just a little bit. We're on a very long 45 points, 15,550. Third represented. What's happening in the States right now? Earlier, definitely energy, half a percent. Industrial there, gaming as well. But more consumer staples week today, along with material space as well. For a second day now. Quick look at the leading US dollar strength. University was Canadian on weakness. Now about a third. The States is all about the Fed, that bank sector, research on visiting. Investors underestimate how quickly Fed could move on. That selling New York down, Fed 500 down, third, down, third, the S&P 500 now falling well below that 2,000 mark, above weeks. And you have said last week, back maybe with a look at the following space.
Hainsworth mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Amber mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We checked them both and we made an adjustment.
And I made sure that the wide is the mic is off, so we're good there.
I've muted everything coming from Cam 2 except for those 2 mics.
Nothing. Never mind.
Headphones clear?
Yes.
Do you want to plug into the computer?
No, that's come on. iPhone on the floor.
One, two, three. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, check.
The keynote started with just background, kind of like how we're starting with just the slate. They've started as well. Yeah. Okay. Can you pull it up for a second so we can see it on there? Yep. No, I haven't. T-minus 12 minutes. I know. That's okay. Yeah. Live stream test. There we go. So that's what we're going to see there, right? Okay. Back to the slate. Now, when you shared that screen, I take it we're not going to get audio. Can you put the headphones on and do it again and see if you're getting audio? No. I just want to see if screen sharing shares the audio as well as the video. No, excellent. Looking good. T-minus 11 minutes.
Over here.
Is that good, Michael?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
All right.
What's that show you were telling me about? What's that show you were telling me about? I did?
Oh, great. We're not hooked up to the internet. Fine. The Wi-Fi died on this iPad.
Oh, really?
I'm going to try CD Mobile 1.
Maybe over,
The Apple, it won't work for the Apple TV. It's set up to only take the bonjour.
Really? Okay. That's disconcerting.
single shot space?
This camera's got to go, right? H. Yeah. Yes, it should be there. It's one of the saved ones. I didn't have to retype it today.
Here you go. I like
Hey,
Like that?
the two shots are a little tighter too than what the yesterday, whatever works.
Well, you can zoom out on it. I just adjust it from there, but.
Just fine.
Does Amber want to come in? Just so we can sit her down and check her out. It's a stack of papers, anyone? Apples.
That's hers, yeah.
That's for him. I think you have to adjust it on the computer. You're gonna back up a bit.
Can I give it to you?
Can you confirm that you guys are ingesting based on this?
Are we recording it? Yeah.
That you're seeing that.
Hey Jack, can you confirm with the controller that that's INX70? That's it. Yes, that's when we're rolling. Okay, yeah. Should all be good. And audio goes to source as well.
Do you want me to carry your powder?
No, Amber got me all freaked out. I need my powder suddenly. So.
So you're saying you can do this now?
I don't know who can control it, but yeah, if you can zoom in and out.
Is it okay if I put on the two-shot?
So you can call it, fix it?
If you want.
Adjust it? So
Yeah.
leave those lights there?
Can you zoom the
Do whatever you need.
in or out?
Yeah, put on a two-shot.
Sure.
So this should be here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Should I move it?
No, just leave it right there.
Maybe just give me a little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
I didn't touch it.
No candy.
I have no idea.
Zoom? Nicole does, I think.
What Nicole does, you can zoom around.
I'm
On
fine.
your camera? No, it's on. Oh, this is right here.
I feel like a shot.
Do you guys want to do one last level check between the two of you?
Sure.
Do you have the Apple TV remote control handy?
Okay.
Silver one? Yes, sir.
Hey guys, 3 minutes.
Let's do that. Let's do a quick mic check.
Nicole, mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Are you talking too?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Busy muted. Yeah. Well, you can talk.
Well, I have the ability to open up my microphone.
So you're not talking. We have especially must be in Grand. We should confirm that. If that might be paused, if you get feedback.
Yeah.
This is what we were talking about yesterday.
So again,
What?
flying
He has to just turn it in.
Yeah. But again, flying here.
So if you guys are having troubles with this, then I want to use it.
Okay.
Jordan, can you guys confirm this was giving bad feedback?
Yes.
So you can I just get this to you?
It's muted.
Okay. You're gonna need to know this. This has stopped working.
Yeah, I'm sorry your browser doesn't support our live on both Explorer and Apple's website. Will it only work on Safari? Or sorry, will it only work on Safari?
I've got my iPhone in my ear.
Okay, because I can't see it on Explorer.
You're looking for
Okay,
the
there.
Apple iPhone?
Yeah,
Okay, so I have it open here.
on,
Which version?
Stop that one time.
but using what browser?
Videos.
I'm on
There
Safari.
it is.
Okay, we're okay there, so
I
long
don't
as we
see
go
it.
full frame. If we go full frame, we lose that. It dies.
Okay.
Just so you know.
So who controls that though?
I'm controlling it right here, right now.
Full frame there.
Yeah. Hainsworth mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, the
Yes.
Flint
1, 2,
Center
3.
patrons are being told they have to sit down and get ready for the big event. Stand by control. We are 3 minutes away.
Is it here or is it
Yeah,
here?
that's good. That's good. Yeah. It should be because you can turn her up if you want.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
It's gonna take 2 minutes before web can tell us. My guess is Aaron will probably be up.
Where is the Google? I don't see it.
T-minus 60 seconds. Stand by.
Oh, there it is. Google.
Twitter.com/BNNS.
Slash BNN and then just find it from there.
Oh, so you guys see clock, there's nothing.
Yeah, I've got a clock. We are 45 seconds away.
I don't have the event, so it says
Yeah, you don't have the event. Do you have your iPhone on you?
it's on my desk. Would you be able to grab it? In 30 seconds.
Stand by 25 seconds mark. 20 seconds mark. BNN.ca live. Apple event begins in 15 seconds mark.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello, I'm Michael Hainsworth. Welcome to BNN's Google Hangout of the Big Apple event in Flint. As the Flint Center gets ready, we've got Amber Kanwar here as well. This is supposed to be a transformational event for Apple.
Of course, and Apple has sort of become like a drug that we're all numb to. It doesn't matter how many millions of phones they sell, but this time we got a call from our dealer, Tim Cook,
Yep.
who said, we've got something new for you.
And what we had been hearing for a while is that it's not just new products that they'll be unveiling, but new product categories as well. And as they file into their seats there at the Flint Center to get ready for this big event, one of the big rumors outside of everything else is that U2, the band, will be making an appearance.
Is that enough to make you buy the stock? Just a U2 appearance. I'm there.
Well, I think Bono has to say, I want to listen.
Well, so that'll be interesting. It'll have that celebrity cachet. They haven't really done that in the past, if I'm not mistaken. It was just sort of a guy up there in a black turtleneck that sold you the product. So this is an interesting twist and speaks to the Tim Cook method of delivering a new product because, of course, this is the first time he will be doing that as Apple CEO.
Now, behind us here, we've got the event running for you, and we will show it to you as well. And what's interesting to note, as we prepare, and we are concerned about our own technical difficulties, it looks like they pulled up a live truck for their Apple special event in the background there. So they appear to be a little bit behind schedule as far as getting themselves up and running. But we're here, and we know that there is one big thing that we'll be waiting for outside of the iPhone 6.
It'll be the iWatch, and many people wondering, is this even viable? Do people want it? And it's really not even a done deal that Apple is actually going to launch this. Many people assume that it's coming, but I was rereading what I was looking at September 10th, 2013. Guess what? They were all talking about the iWatch back then as well.
The iWatch itself is expected to be big for Apple, but it's not something that's new. There are a lot of other players in the space who already have what is by and large a fitness tracker.
You know, Apple did not invent the smartphone either, but what they did is they changed it and they put it in the hands of most consumers. So it's not necessary that Apple needs to invent a new product category. They certainly did with the iPad, but you know, we were all walking around with Discmans and MP3 players when they gave us the iPod. So I wouldn't say that that's a necessary requirement for success for Apple.
So what Apple needs to do is do something that's different, something that makes, you know, people like me who have dainty wrists want to actually run out and buy one of these things. And the fitness tracking is in fact part of it.
And you know, maybe instead of taking your phone out of your pocket, you just have all the information that you could possibly want, your Twitter updates, your text messages, your missed calls. All you have to do is look at your wrist. And it'll be interesting to see if Apple can bring back a category it essentially decimated through the invention of the smartphone. Many people didn't need a watch because now they had the time on their phones.
So as they get ready there at the Flynn Center in Cupertino, California, the smartwatch itself is one big element to it, but there are a whole host of other things, the iPhone 6 too, and then mobile payments. So that is sort of the third thing that we're looking for. Apple basically getting into your wallet, by and large, although they might not be able to call it the iWallet.
Right, because apparently that name is taken. So they could take maybe iMoney, iCash, iBanking on it.
Maybe they just drop the I altogether.
Oh, that would be a huge departure. I would say that would be a game changer for Apple. But do you know how many people they have on iTunes? It's estimated 800 million iTunes account holders who already have their credit card information stored with Apple, who are used to making purchases with them. That is a pretty big part of the market that the likes of Visa or MasterCard could now get access to. But I would say that they probably need to announce that they've signed on with those major credit card companies in order okay, mobile payments is a game changer for Apple.
800 million credit cards.
Yeah, exactly.
That is about twice what Amazon.com has by comparison, to give you a sense as to how much those guys should be quaking in their boots.
Yeah, exactly. And if you think about it, Amazon as well as eBay, they're great on the internet for making purchases, but we're really missing that one player who is the dominant force in mobile payments. People are very used to buying songs in their iTunes right from their phone, making purchases for apps right from their phone. So it'd almost be an easy transition to start shopping for clothes, for TVs, anything that you buy right from your phone. And since you're already plugged into the Apple ecosystem, it would be a very simple transaction.
Now, joining us as well behind the scenes is Nicole Sienna. She's our producer extraordinaire. She's keeping on top of all of the images you're seeing, as well as the Twitter response so far. We'll be keeping you on top through Nicole as well on what some of the major nerderati websites are saying. Gizmodo, Engadget. These are the guys who are on the floor there, and they're the nerds we're relying on to give us a sense as to whether this next big thing is something that the nerds want. If you can convince the geek in your life that this is something for them, then they will do evangelizing for the rest of the population.
And it seems to be the male geek, because I would maybe opine that the reason we're seeing a bit of a delay is the lineup at the male bathroom. Somebody tweeted a picture, Business Insider, tweeting the lineup at the male bathroom is around the corner, whereas probably the only place in the world there's a shorter line for a female bathroom, Cupertino, California.
Now, we've got one other fun little thing to do here. We're going to be playing Apple Bingo. We're going to pull up the Apple Bingo card for you. This was a fun little tweet from Matt in Navara, UK. So the September event, in the center, of course, you've got the double down. But among the words that we'll be watching for are magical, Quote,
I believe I use that. Superpowers.
superpowers, laser-focused, precision, innovates.
I'm going to be interested because Apple's software development conference, they took no difficulty pulling the punches on their competitors. So you also have Samsung as a potential bingo. The other guys, anytime that they mock Android, which they certainly did at the developer conference. I don't know if I can say this, but I think we're on the internet, so it's probably safe. My ass is one of them.
Is it really?
It is on this event bingo card that we have. So if you have that, if you hear that, you should probably get double points.
There are a couple of salty languaged individuals in Cupertino, California, and I'm not going to name any names explicitly, but that's why that particular one is on there. And there was a lot of eyebrows raised the last time through this. Johnny Ive is really sort of the new kingmaker at Apple right now. Johnny Ive is the man that we want to keep an eye on. He's also got his own dedicated bingo spot.
Yes, he does. We'll see how many times he is mentioned, but also the man that I've been following ever since he debuted at the Software Developer Conference, Craig Federighi. He is the Senior Vice President of Software Engineering.
Yep, and he and Jonathan Ive
Johnny,
work together. Jonathan Ive is actually Sir Jonathan Paul Ive, born in 1967 and the Senior VP of Design at Apple. This is the man who took over the software as well as the hardware role. And then your Ferengi friend?
Craig Federighi, who Tim Cook called at that conference his Superman, and he certainly had a lot of the charm and the charisma. He was on the Apple map as soon as he made that. And if it's true, if Apple invents a new category that's not an actual product, but is mobile payments, that's essentially becoming a software-driven company, and that would be right in Craig's wheelhouse.
We've got Tim Cook taking to the stage now at the Flint Center in Cupertino, California, and he is just starting his conversation with the audience right now. One of the things that he's going to likely start with, he's certainly not going to start by talking about the iPhone 6 or the potential iWatch or the mobile payments. He will likely start by focusing on the things that they want to show off that they've already accomplished. A lot of that has to do with the actual operating system for the iPhone itself and the Macintosh.
Which they certainly did beef up. They're trying to introduce the Health Kit. They're trying to introduce a home security platform, also certain fitness things. So they're really trying to make it an iLife, where it's not just your smartphone, but it's something you can essentially turn your own home on and off with, and these are the devices that are key to that. Right now, they're just talking about the iPhones, a little tour through the history of them. So we haven't yet got to the juicy part of new launches, and I wonder if they will lead off with the iWatch.
He says he wants to start by talking about the product, and that he says has changed all of our lives. Is that on the bingo card?
Changed all of our lives. No, best ever made. We need to wait for that.
Okay.
Gorgeous. Sapphire. Of course, that refers to the glass that we will be potentially seeing on the new iPhone 6.
He is showing up us now the existing lineup of iPhone devices. That blue one there, second from the right, is the iPhone 5C. That one was widely expected to be the company's answer to the Samsung Android operating system, and just how much Android has really taken over in the developing markets, India and China. But this was not a phone that was priced to compete.
No, absolutely. It was considering it was little c for cheap. It was actually big C for costly compared to the other competitors. And in fact, since its launch, its iPhone C, Apple has still continued to lose market share against Android devices. So it is going to need something. That's why many people are so excited about this other product.
Let's show you the new iPhone 6 there. This is the new rounded edge of the new device that is expected to be released to the public at large in the next week or so. They're just showing us basically what it looks like. The leaked photos were fairly accurate.
That's true, and it sort of picks up on a trend that we've been seeing, is sort of making your device more than just this flat thing. You know, I believe it was Samsung that also came out with kind of a curved edge so you can just see updates along the side. It'll be interesting to see whether this is materially different than what Samsung came out with.
The company saying, I hope you'll agree that they are the best phones you've ever seen. Let's check the
best ever.
best ever.
Best
That's
ever.
got to be on the
best
bingo.
ever made. We're
All
gonna
right,
mark
that one
it down.
Absolutely.
We are one.
Now, one of the big rumors was that this would be called the iPhone 6L. That would be the larger one, the 5.5-inch screen. The other one at 4.7-inch screen. But now we're being told it's the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus.
6 Plus. So do we have the size yet? Because that was rumored to be, what, a 5? Was it 5 by 5?
It was going to be, the original one is 4 inches diagonal, which of course is the most effective way to make it seem like it's larger than it actually is, followed by the new ones at 4.5 inches, or 4.7 inches rather, and then the other one that's even larger at 5.5. Interesting that these are all next-generation Retina displays as well. And so, again, there's that rumor that we're looking at there of the 3 sizes, and it looks like that rumor has proved accurate.
That's true, and that's actually potentially bodes well for what else we might see out there, because there's been so many different versions of what the iWatch could potentially look like. So given that this phone is very similar to the leaks, you know, this sort of protruding camera lens, a thick antenna bend, it bodes well that iWatch is coming, and it could bear some resemblance to what has already been leaked.
All right, so they're showing off what the new iPhone 6 looks like on the screen with the Retina display and others.
That was something that got you very excited, this Retina display.
Well, the Retina display was something that they had a little while back, and that was with the original iPhone 4. And the idea being is that you could look at it and you wouldn't be able to see the dots on the screen.
We also have another word for bingo, saying that this is the biggest advancement in the history of the iPhone. So I believe that is one of the words that we're looking for, a game changer. I would say that that's a slight interpretation of the word game changer. So they started out with the one thing we definitely were expecting, a new iteration of the iPhone, and one that is bigger, and it has some different gadgets associated with it.
This is the new Retina Display HD, they're calling it, on the larger model, which they say is an sRGB accurate, ultra-thin backlight, photo-aligned IPS liquid crystal, improved polarizer, and ion-strengthened glass. This doesn't look like we're getting the sapphire glass that we've been hearing so much about.
And what was the advantage of the sapphire versus the Gorilla? What got everyone so excited about that?
The sapphire glass is apparently much stronger than what you would get out of the existing Gorilla Glass. There was a neat little video that had been making the rounds that had suggested that it is basically bulletproof more than anything else. And so the fact that they don't have it in this particular model may be an indication more than anything else that they're having trouble with the yields, as they call it. The idea that they can't make this in a large enough quantity, and not just quantity, but also physical size, to be able to pull that off.
And it'll be interesting. I think some of the estimates are saying that they could sell in the next 3 days at least 6.9 million of these phones. And that was sort of the key advantage that Tim Cook had, is that he was able to announce these phones and then put them on sale the very next day.
So the iPhone 6 with the 4.7-inch screen, the resolution for the nerderati among me is 1334 by 750. That's quite the high resolution. That is basically the resolution of many laptop computers today. The iPhone 6 Plus does have the 5.5-inch screen, and that one's even larger. This one has the same, and this is why I suppose they're calling it the Retina Display HD, is that this is 1920 by 1080. This is full high-definition resolution, the same that you would get sitting in front of your TV at home. Granted, a lot smaller.
But my Instagram filters will take it out if it's too. Sometimes you don't want too high def. You know, there is a there. If I'm taking a picture of a beautiful scenery, absolutely. But you know, now that the smartphones have essentially replaced cameras, that kind of resolution is important, because you weren't able to really print your photos in the kind of resolution or the kind of high quality that you could from your digital camera. So this is one step to making it just exactly like a camera with all these other extra features.
The Plus will come with double-paned landscape view. We're still trying to figure out exactly what that means. You can see the springboard and landscape mode in Plus, according to the folks over at Engadget. The units themselves are really quite thin, 6.9 millimeters for the 6, and the Plus will have a 7.1 millimeter width. So these are, I don't think I've seen a smartphone this thin.
No, I'm looking at the specs right now, thinner than anything we've ever made before. That qualifies for the game changer bingo. The iPhone 6 is 6.9 millimeters. The iPhone 6 Plus is 7.1 compared to 7.6 in the 5S. So they're making them thinner and smaller than before, but in your mind, this is largely what we expected. This is not going to move the needle, is it?
This doesn't look like anything that we didn't really know, first of all. And it doesn't, at this point, seem to be anything that is groundbreaking.
And I guess we expected that with the iPhone. The bigger thing will be the watch. How much do you think you'd pay for an iWatch?
Well, this is one of the big issues with the iWatch, is that as much as people are talking about how important this is going to be for Apple, it's certainly not going to move the needle when it comes to the company's revenue stream. So they may sell a lot of them, but they're not going to be making a heck of a lot of money off them. I can't imagine they would price it for more than, what, $149?
There's some talking that it could be as high as $400 to $500.
That's as much as your phone.
Exactly, with the expected range of being $230 maybe to $300. But if it is a phone on top of being a watch, maybe that's why they're pricing it that high. And remember, Apple isn't known for going cheap. We just talked about how the iPhone 5C wasn't really that cheap because they have a profit to protect.
Now the company is now looking at the actual operating system itself as part of the process. We're having a heck of a time with this live stream. It's quite bogged down, so it's been cutting out on us quite a bit here. And interesting as well, in my ear here, I'm getting what sounds like Cantonese.
Really? Translating for the big market. That was actually the big announcement. The deal with China Mobile last year. That's what got everyone so excited. You know, you were just talking about the market opportunity for the iWatch. Just to remind everyone, the iPhone sold $91 billion last year. The best estimate that I've seen for how big the iWatch market could be actually came from Citi yesterday. $10 billion market by 2018. So this certainly will not be a needle mover unless those estimates prove to be very incorrect and suddenly there's a huge surge in everybody wanting to wear this iWatch.
I just got a notification from Bell that I've already blown my limit on my my monthly downloads. I got to switch back to the Wi-Fi here so that I can keep an eye on this. The pricing, you point out, is pretty critical, not just for the iWatch, but also for the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus, which, by the way, I don't know how comfortable I feel about it being called the iPhone 6 Plus.
Does that mean does it sound like then it's over? That's it? We've tapped out?
No, frankly, it sounds fat.
But it's skinny.
Right.
Exactly.
So why wouldn't you call it something else?
The Slim? Slim Jim?
Slim? The iPhone
Slim Jim?
Exactly. So we're on Twitter as well, and we're hoping that you'll send us some tweets and tell us what you think of this. I got one that indicates here that maybe this conversation is a little bit echoey.
Okay.
So your microphone a little closer, maybe that might help. But we've got all the other microphones around here turned off, so we should be okay. It's got a different interface from the smaller iPhone, both vertical and horizontal. The larger model is going to show more information. The horizontal mode on the 5.5-inch has a horizontal home screen. Like if you look at your existing iPhone right now, when you turn it sideways, it doesn't move sideways, but the iPad does. So I suppose as we get into the phablet territory, they're recognizing that you're going to use this in both a landscape and a portrait mode.
Which I sometimes find annoying because sometimes I just want to lay down and then it flips to the side. And
you can lock that. Talk to your resident geek. I'll get it set up for you.
But it needs to be intuitive, and I think that's an important point when we're talking about Apple, is that everything that they've been able to do so far has been intuitive. You know, ask anybody with a child under 5 years old about how easily they can go to YouTube so quickly and play that Frozen song from Disney over and over again.
Will you stop it with the Frozen?
Right, but they're able to navigate the iPad. Being intuitive is very critical to Apple's success.
There's not any absence of hate for this new product on Twitter, which is a big surprise, I'm sure, to everyone who ever has been on Twitter.
But that is Apple's history, I looked back on every single one of their product launches, and Apple actually doesn't do well on the day that it launches. It does seem to take time for consumers and investors alike to warm up to whatever Apple is launching. So we'll take that at face value, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the judgment is out and it's going to stay out.
All right, I'm going to favorite this so that Nicole can pull this up as well, that shows the difference in size between the iPhone 5S, the iPhone 6, and the iPhone 6 Plus for you as well. And with that in mind, we're also looking at somebody saying that this is nothing new. It's a fail. That's some of the negative commentary, which again, you know, when you're anonymous on the internet, people have a tendency to say whatever they want.
Do you think the phone can get much bigger than this, or have they sort of reached their limit?
Well, this is the weird thing about phablets. In Asia particularly, phablets are huge. Something like 1 out of every 3 smartphones in Asia is a phablet style, a phone tablet dimensions, and more than 5.5 inches is the norm.
So does that mean they're not buying iPads either? They're kind of, it's a more economical way to get a device, whereas in North America or Europe you tend to have a phone plus a tablet, whereas this way you just have to make one purchase to get 2 devices essentially.
Well, this is the thing, is that in Asia, where they've got bandwidth limitations that are nowhere near what we have, frankly, we are the ones who are limited in our bandwidth when it comes to surfing the internet online. The Asian world, and I'm talking Korea particularly, but also to a degree China and India, they don't necessarily need a television because they've got their phablets. They've got the unlimited bandwidth that allows them to watch whatever they want streaming, whereas in North America we're accustomed to keeping an eye on, as apparently I just had to do, on how much we're actually pulling down overall.
It seems like right now they're highlighting the game aspect, and this has been also one of the rumors, is what is Apple going to do, if anything, with virtual reality and integrating gaming, because that seems to be the thing to do. You think about what Facebook did teaming up with, or sorry, Samsung did teaming up with Facebook's Oculus.
TechCrunch had an interesting article about Apple exploring augmented reality for iPhones particularly, and the idea being is, according to the new patent applications that Apple Insider has found, is that it would boost the navigation capabilities with the augmented reality features. In other words, using the camera on the iPhone itself to help establish where you are, give you a virtual map of your surroundings overlaid on a real feed using GPS, Wi-Fi, and all sorts of other sensors as well. But when you're getting to the 5.5-inch territory with a phone like this, now you're starting to compete with the Mini, which is that gaming device that Apple's been touting.
But it's sort of a declining category as well, unless they're able to really build it out in the gaming world. Still, to me, as somebody who is not a gamer, sitting next to somebody who is very tech savvy, it sounds like it's only ever going to be niche, and Apple needs to break away from that.
They're showing off a game called Vainglory. It's a multiplayer battle game by the software developer Super Evil, and you play a character who plants seeds to grow onions that like to dance.
Sounds like Farmville.
Sounds an awful lot like Farmville, don't you think? But what makes this particularly interesting is the underlying technology behind it that Apple's been focused on. This puts them right up against Nintendo and their DS device, as well as Sony and Xbox in the console market. The software has new lighting effects, animated characters, and technology under the hood that allows them to compete with these types of companies that have built dedicated boxes specifically to playing games overall. So this is sort of a capture the flag game with crystals, and the underlying technology to which I'm referring is something called Metal. So programmers are going to take this, they're going to apply it to the games that they're working on, and the ultimate hope for Apple particularly, but also the game developers themselves, is that they will be able to use these new toolkit capabilities to build games like never seen on a smartphone generally, whether it be an iPhone or an Android-based device overall. Games, it sounds like child's play, and every BlackBerry user watching this, one BlackBerry user watching this, is going to go on about how this...
And you know how much hate mail you're going to get about that.
BlackBerry is anyway. But the idea is that there is a huge revenue stream for Apple when it comes to games. Every app you buy on the App Store today, that's $1, Apple gets 30 cents.
And you want to be Apple instead of the person actually creating those games, because as we've seen with Zynga or Candy Crush, that kind of momentum is fleeting. What isn't is that people do enjoy downloading and paying for certain things.
The big concern that we've had with this new 5.5-inch iPhone 6 Plus is that it's going to actually be a battery hog. The larger the screen you get, the more battery life that's going to be consumed as part of this. And it looks like right now that they're talking about specifically the battery life on the new devices. 14 hours of 3G talk time on the 6. It's 24 for the Plus. And then they talk about standby mode as well, which I don't know if that's really a valuable or relevant statistic, considering how likely is it your phone's going to be on 10 days worth of standby.
This was one of the other exciting things, not the battery life, but how you might potentially be able to charge it. They were exploring, or there were rumors going into this launch, that there would be wireless charging. I don't think that we've got any announcement on that, but that would also speak to the power issue.
No. The new coprocessor as well that Apple unveiled with the 5S is the M8 Motion coprocessor. That was widely expected to be included in the 6 and the 6 Plus, and we're getting confirmation that that's in there as well. What the M8 is all about is offloading the responsibility of keeping track of such things as step counters. All of that fitness and health-oriented stuff will be offloaded to this dedicated chip, and there's a new sensor in it, a barometer.
Have they seen the obesity rates in North America? Like, we have a problem in which people are not. I'm interested to know.
You want people up off the couch.
Well, I'm interested to know why Apple or why people think that fitness is such an exciting opportunity when, by and large, this kind of technology has rendered us basically obese.
The barometer sensor, I don't think my wife is going to need. She's one of these people who gets migraines when the barometer rises or falls. I've got a human one.
So you have a human one. But for those of us not lucky enough to be surrounded by your wife every day.
Exactly. Nike is also working on a new version of the Nike Plus app, according to Engadget. And the latest bit here, back to the chips, is that there's a new wireless specification for this, which is LTE 150 megabits per second. Give you a sense as to what how fast this cell phone will be able to communicate with a cell tower. That is basically 5 times faster than what you're probably accustomed to on your home internet service.
And with this new battery, they're promising that you have 10 hours of LTE browsing, 50 hours of listening to your music, 11 hours of video, and 11 hours of Wi-Fi browsing on one single battery charge. So that certainly does suggest that this is a more powerful battery and might be one of their, or at least at the very top in terms of what's out there in the market.
The audio quality for those who are watching at home is improving. We apologize for the technical difficulties we were having earlier. We're continuing to work on that for you, so we appreciate your patience as you stay with us on this. As far as the chip, that iPhone processor that I was mentioning, 25% faster than the previous chip, according to the company. This is Moore's Law, in effect.
Which is?
Which is that every year, chip speeds will double, and the cost of those chips will be cut in half. And it almost goes parabolic at some point, which of course brings us to the singularity, where we're just plugging the chip directly into it.
So it'll be faster for me to text you than to actually waste my breath speaking to you right beside me.
Well, that Instagram filter is going to take, 25% less time to render.
Oh, well, now you really have some. Now you're speaking the language. What are some of the other crazy things that we've heard that are not likely to be possible, but it hasn't stopped people from talking about? You've been looking at some of those crazy rumors.
There are some remarkable rumors out there, not the least of which is that the new screen on it was expected to be chargeable via solar. Solar charging. So in other words, just leave your phone sitting out, and it will charge by the lights or the out of.
That does seem ridiculous as somebody who doesn't know much about tech, but who knows when I leave my phone in my car, it gives me a message saying, "What have you done to me? I'm overheated. I'm going to need a second to cool down."
Yeah, you don't want to. Yeah, you don't want to be leaving this on the dashboard
no, absolutely not.
of the car for all the obvious reasons as well. There had also been this wacky rumor that they were going to do away with the home button and that there would just be an Apple logo and you would swipe, which actually is something that, if that had been true, would have been stolen from BlackBerry.
Ah, very interesting. It would also be the fulfillment of one of Steve Jobs' lifelong goals. He hated the button. He absolutely hated the button. He wanted to get rid of it. This was one of his, that's why there are no buttons. That's why there were no keyboards and why there was never going to be under Steve Jobs. But one of his big pet peeves was that center button. He hated the button.
Okay, we're getting more information here about the new iPhone 6 and the 6L. This is the lens on the camera itself, which is right up your alley when it comes to Instagram.
Great.
Focus pixels. The lens moves in and out and can tell if the object is in or out of phase. So this is basically a higher quality autofocus with an 8 megapixel camera, which actually is a bit of a surprise. There have been a big expectation that Apple would up the ante on the total megapixels, considering you can buy a Samsung Android phone that has 16 megapixels. Nokia's Lumia has something outrageous like 24 megapixels. You take one picture to build a memory card kind of thing.
Yes, that's correct.
But it looks like they're sticking with quality of the image versus the size of the image. The camera is 8 megapixels, which is what it's been all along. It's got a new flash and an f2.2 aperture. So if you're a photog and you're following that particularly, the aperture itself will help us get a sense of just how well it'll operate in low light conditions.
Which means, in layman's term, that your selfies are going to come out looking spectacular and in higher quality.
In the dark.
In the dark.
The
Oh,
panorama
God,
mode.
that enters a whole other
Well, that's
different
where I thought you were going with it in the first place. I know, what the heck are you
Take it
doing
all
there?
the way. No, I was just leaving it at your footsteps.
They've got that panorama mode as well, where you just pan the camera around and you follow the little arrow to keep it on track. That will now go all the way up to 43 megapixels. So you can do a full 360-degree image in that higher resolution and basically leave the high-end camera at home.
Now, would you have been more excited about this announcement had had Bono just come out and sung it all?
Hang on. I've been looking. It doesn't mean Bono's not coming out yet. At the Flint Center in Cupertino, they have built an exterior, what looks like a sound stage. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get Nicole to see if she can pull this up on my podcast website, Geeks and Beats, because we've got that listed there with these photos that show that it looks like the big rumor is U2 will in fact perform. So this wouldn't happen before, this would happen after.
Maybe people are listening because as we're talking about U2, I'm seeing Apple stock pop. Now it is up 2%. I should mention that as soon as the new iPhone came out, it dropped like a stone, losing $2 in value or 2%, and we've now rebounded from that. So people are certainly fast and furious trying to figure out what all of this means, and the volatility is likely not over because we're still waiting for new products. We can talk about this new iPhone that we knew was coming until we're blue in the face, but this is not what people are looking for.
One of my favorite Twitter accounts is a parody account of Toronto Mayor Rob Ford.
Okay.
It's T.O. Mayor Fraud, F-R-O-D. He writes, "I'm as excited as anyone else to learn about the new iPhone 6, but folks, that thing better not be on." Hashtag T.O. Pauly.
Yeah, that's true. We almost need a light or some sort of indication that you are being filmed right now.
Actually, in Korea, it is against the law to sell a smartphone that does not have a shutter sound effect when you press the shutter. For privacy reasons. If someone's taking a picture of you, you want to know that they're doing that.
That's going to decrease the quality of my Snapchats when I'm on public transportation if I can't put that thing on mute.
Optical image stabilization is going to be in the 6 Plus. So what we're learning here is that the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus are not just the same phone larger. There are new capabilities built into the 6 Plus. For example, as we talked already, the talk time and the battery life will be longer. It's physically bigger. They can put more battery in it. It will have the same resolution camera, but this one will have the optical image stabilization that has been so desperately missing from all of the videos I've been taking of my little girl as she learns to ride a bike.
Do you think if you didn't have an iPhone, this technology, what they've announced today, this better quality image, this sleeker design, is that enough to get you out there and buy this phone?
Okay, so the question would be, is what phone would I already have?
Let's say you had an Android because that is the most popular base device.
There seems to be more features built into Android-based phones today than what we're seeing so far out of Apple and the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. However, there is something to be said for the Apple ecosystem that you're not getting with the Google folks. And again, if you already were in an Apple world, leaving it to go to an Android device because you thought the camera was better quality or they had more whiz-bang features, that would be a huge stumbling block for anyone trying to leave the fold.
Okay, so they've now, it sounds like what you're saying, caught up to what was perceived as an advantage for Samsung or Android-based devices.
I'm not completely convinced they've caught up yet. There's one area that we're still missing out on, and that is the near-field communications chip. You know of what I speak?
No, go.
Okay, NFC.
Can you convert this into English language, please?
Into English, the NFC chip is basically what will allow you to make mobile payments. As we talked off the start of the program, we don't yet have Apple's ability to wave your smartphone at someone other than a Starbucks barista because they've got that app, which doesn't really have anything to do with the cash register at the store itself. So all the Samsung devices and all the Android devices, most of them anyway, have this NFC chip in it that allows you the near-field communication. In other words, someone can't be a half a block away and steal your credit card information because they're not close enough to you. All of that kind of stuff.
So that's one of the ways that the payments could be done. The other is just do everything through the iTunes store, where the store now holds a lot more things than just songs and apps.
Yeah. So Android devices have an edge over Apple in that respect, that they've got that technology. What they don't really have is the ecosystem to go along with it. We don't yet have an environment where every store you walk into, somebody is willing to take your money via your smartphone, even though, 80% of the smartphones sold today are in fact Android devices.
Yes, that's absolutely true. Apple has been slowly losing market share to Android devices, and actually for the first time, BlackBerry from the previous quarter gained just a little bit of market share. I'm looking at BlackBerry stock right now. It's up nearly a full % on this announcement. So there certainly isn't a thinking out there that whatever Apple has unveiled will do anything, at least at this very moment, to stem what BlackBerry is trying to do, and that's turn itself around, reinvent itself as a viable smartphone maker again.
So they're still looking over, they've just finished wrapping up actually, looking at the camera itself, single-shot HDR photos. HDR is high dynamic range, the idea being that dark areas, you can still see them without it blowing out the bright areas, and the bright areas are still bright without the dark areas disappearing into a field of black. And now they're getting into other features like messages and other capabilities within the iOS 8 operating system. The iOS 8 operating system isn't released yet. It's expected to come out within the next week or two. It will coincide with the launch of the iPhone 6 and the iPhone 6 Plus in stores, and we're seeing it right there.
If you're wondering where Tim Cook is at this moment, he is backstage, just tweeted his first tweet from the iPhone 6 saying, "It's amazing, you're going to love it." Let that sink in.
Yeah, it's really nice that he's being straight with us about this.
Yes, no bias.
I was fully expecting him to come out and tell us that this was a garbage phone.
No, I think that's still under the game changer if we're playing Apple September Bingo. Could be under only Apple can, but I think I'd like to hear that before I mark that off on my Apple Bingo.
Okay. There's a new keyboard as well. How are you doing on the keyboard on your iPhone? You almost have to be a Jedi. You just have to sort of accept that it's going to get it right.
Accept that it's going to get it right, or if it's not going to be, it's going to result in a hilarious autocorrect that you and your friends can laugh about. I think that typing issues have largely been put aside, and nobody, unless you're a diehard BlackBerry user, are pounding the table to get a keyboard on an iPhone.
All right, if you're following along and you are playing the Apple September event bingo, as we've tweeted, I'll retweet it as well, we've got another entry in the bottom left corner, Game Changer.
Yes, it's official. So now we have two, Best Ever Made and Game Changer. Oh, Battery Life.
Yep, and Other Guys.
Other Guys.
They'll never refer specifically to the competition. They will just refer to them as the other guys.
So one of the options is Mox Android.
Yes.
So that's more of a subjective thing.
That's right. I've been listening in, and I haven't heard any mocking so far. I may have missed some of it. But of course, we've got to get iPhone 6 in there and best ever made below it.
Now, it looks like we might not win this game because
Pricing
of
is
a
now out.
Sapphire. Oh, what is it?
$199 is the entry-level price for the iPhone 6. Let me just back this up here a little bit for you as well, which is the critical entry-level pricing points. $299 on a 2-year contract for the iPhone 6, and $399 is the other, which appears to be on a 1-year contract.
So they already have these relationships in place. That seems...
Yeah. That's not unusual.
Yeah.
We still don't have what the pricing will be here in Canada or the availability in Canada. We're keeping an eye out for that for you specifically. But again, the 16 gigabyte model is $199, 64 gigabytes to $299. So if you're willing to pay an extra $100, you're going to double the capacity on an iPhone 6.
And you can get...
$399.
Yeah.
128 gigabytes.
Already loaded in.
That is massive. That is one of the big things that we haven't seen out of iPhone, and one of the biggest complaints by iPhone users, and mockingly by the Android community, saying that you can't put a chip in an iPhone to get more memory, and 128 is not available. Now it's available at the $399 point.
And that's with a contract in the United States.
That would be with a 2-year contract in the United States.
Does that seem reasonable to you?
Yeah. The iPhone 5C is free now on a 2-year contract, and the 5S is $99. So this will ship September 19th, which is, in fact, one of those other big rumors that we were looking for confirmation of, and that's what we've got there, as you can see there. So September 19th is the shipping date for the iPhone 6, and that is not the 6S, by the way. Pre-orders will be September 12th. 115 countries by the end of the year. And again, we're looking to find out if Canada is included in the several countries where they say it'll ship September 19th. That remains to be seen. We'll also be looking for press releases from Bell Mobility, Rogers Communications, and TELUS Mobility on this.
So the price point seems in line with what we've seen from other launches, and in line with the time frame. Usually when they do announce these phones, it is about 10 days from the announcement that they're actually sent out into the market, and at least one analyst that I've seen says they expect them to sell 6.5 million phones in just 3 days. That would be worldwide, but their biggest 3-day selling period ever was actually when they launched the 5S and the 5C. At the same time, they sold 9 million phones.
Back on stage at the Flint Center in Cupertino, California, we've got the CEO of Apple again back on the stage, Tim Cook. And when Tim goes back on stage, that's usually what the next big thing is going to be.
So what do you think?
You got the bingo out again?
I got the bingo out.
It's got to be the iWatch. But he's talking about how it makes you feel. And these products, he says, they have bigger screens, and they're amazing. But they're much better in every single way. Is that on it? It's got to be on it.
Every single, no.
The event bingo?
No. Only Apple can?
Yeah. Okay. He's talking about the apps now. So this was actually, my heart stopped for a moment there because he was talking about enlisting some of his new friends. He has an old friend, or at least Johnny Ive, who is the lead designer, brought an old friend on board who has a lot of experience in the watch business.
And who's that?
Oh, come on. You can call me on this right here.
I'm going to call you on it. Angela Air?
Mark Newson.
Okay.
Mark Newson is the man who's responsible as an industrial designer for a whole host of consumer goods, restaurants, and things of that nature. But also, he's actually designed watches, which is what got the Twitterati all agog.
Well, maybe if he's talking about feelings, we could be seeing something virtual reality, kind of surrounding yourself with it. I mean, we really just got to get him out with it.
Yeah.
Stop having us on the edge of our seats here.
Mm-hmm. The man himself, Mark Newson, born 1963, according to the internet, and if it's on the internet, it must be true, is the Apple Genius's latest hire, according to Business Insider. Newson is, in fact, quite an influential designer in his own right. Graduated at the Sydney College of Arts in jewelry and sculpture. in 1984.
And remember, they hired Angela Ahrendts, and that was seen as a push into maybe the luxury market or picking up on her expertise there. So they certainly have the bench for it. Now we're just waiting for whatever it is they release. And they need to appeal to more than just the tech-savvy audience. They need to appeal to me and you. You're tech-savvy, but you've got those dainty wrists, so it needs to be adjustable. And it needs to have more applications than just, you know, when I go for a jog, I'm going to wear this watch.
He's responsible for designing consumer goods like furniture for IKEA, the Scope series of bags for Samsonite, cookware for Tefal, and the Ike Pod. I don't quite know what that is.
Seems like, are they talking about transactions at this moment? The screen has gone blank, but from what I'm seeing, $12 billion in daily transactions through iTunes.
$12 billion?
$12 billion, the value of what is sold through their stores. 200 million daily transactions. They're talking about payments right now. That is the next thing on the docket.
Okay, so as it stands now, payments will be a huge thing for Apple because, of course, they will get a cut out of every single transaction that goes on over the course of a year.
And who else will get a cut? Will it be the credit card companies, or will the shakeup Apple does in the industry be at the expense of the credit card companies?
I suspect not. I don't think Apple wants to become a bank in and to itself. That what they want to do is they want to leverage the 800 million credit cards, yours and mine among them, that they've already got in the iTunes store. And so you buy something for $100. They get a cut of that through the mobile payment system, and then Visa would get a cut of it as well. So this is going to be a volume issue for a retailer. If a retailer is going to put what is expected to be a little puck-like device next to their cash register to be able to make the mobile payment happen, they are going to have to know that they're going to make up the reduction in fees on volume. And I'm just talking out of my butt at this point.
Our vision is to replace the wallet. We're going to start by focusing on payments. Payments is a huge business. So it sounds like we're getting what will be the first installment of a broader category. They're starting with payments, but they want to get rid of the wallet. So that is the thing that will be obsolete, Michael. It's the wallet.
Here's the quote. Whether it's debit or credit, we're totally reliant on the exposed numbers of the outdated magnetic stripe interface, which is 5 decades old, and the security codes, which aren't so secure. No wonder people have dreamed of replacing these for years, but they've all failed. Now, as they talk about the prospect, here's the new name for it. It's not the iWallet.
What is that?
It's Apple Pay.
Apple Pay.
That is the new name that Apple is giving to their entirely new payment process, they're calling it. And they say, quote, this is exactly what Apple does best. Have you looked at the bingo card there for this event here to see if there's something about them doing something the best?
Only Apple can?
You know what? That's close enough.
We'll allow it? The judges will allow it?
Will allow it.
All right.
So this payment system that they're working on here called Apple Pay will have to be completely secure. And one of the big issues, of course, is that security has been a problem for the company over just the last little while.
Want to know what the stock investors think about this? Apple now trading at the highest level of the day, up 2.5%, and the pop is precisely when they unveiled the payment category.
You use Apple Pay by holding your thumb on the Touch ID button, which raises some questions as to whether or not, if you've got an iPhone 5 or an earlier model, if you could take advantage of this. If you've got a 5, of course, you don't have the NFC chip that is likely involved in this specifically. Eddie Q is about to come on stage to take a closer look at Apple Pay specifically. It doesn't look like they're necessarily calling it Apple Pay. They're just calling it Pay with the Apple logo on it as well, which will be a critical component to that brand recognition when you walk into a store.
Yeah, exactly, and maybe they'll change what we call pay things. I'm just going to Apple it.
Oh, gosh, I hope not. And again, if you've got an iPhone 5 or an iPhone 5S, it'll be interesting to see if Pay gets built into it. It is built into the 6 and the 6 Plus, but it doesn't look like it is built into the 5, at least not at this point. And it does use the NFC chip, the near-field communications chip that I've been telling you is critical to make all of this happen. So a combo of the NFC chip, the Touch ID, and what they're calling a secure element chip that stores your encrypted info. So the idea being is that your personal information is not stored in the cloud with
Stored
your
right in the
adult
phone.
photos that you should have been taking in the first place clear to use, but it is actually on the phone itself in a chip that if they tear that chip apart, they still can't get at it.
Well, I guess that's important, but then, you know, there's the flip side of that where you lose the convenience factor, because theoretically you would be just on your phone, but maybe when you're at home on your iPad or on your Mac.
This is an interesting little twist as well. When you get your iPhone 6 and you've got your wallet full of credit cards, to add your new credit card to the Apple Pay system, you just take a picture of it. None of this entering the 10 digits and all that
10
nonsense.
digits, the security code on the back.
All you do is take a picture of it, and it'll integrate it into your new phone.
How did they secure that? What if I got your credit card?
Well, great. Now you just blew it.
Shh.
Don't
I
tell
was
any
hoping
cue.
you wouldn't think about that. To go back to the iPhone 6, Canada will be on the launch day, September 19th. You will be able to get a smartphone, the new smartphone, right here in Canada.
Okay. So again, what they're saying is that when you add a card, they don't store the card or give it to the merchant, according to Engadget. And we've been showing you some of the images that Engadget's been putting up here as the live stream behind us appears to be overloaded, which doesn't particularly surprise me, I suppose. But you don't store the card. They don't store the card or give it to a merchant. They've got a one-time payment number with a dynamic security code, so you don't have that 3-digit code on the back of your credit card anymore. It changes every single time you use it.
And that's they would have to have an agreement with each of these credit card companies. So presumably that is already in place for Apple. And just to remind everyone of this opportunity, we talked a little bit about it right at the beginning of the show, but 800 million people have iTunes accounts. Tim Cook just said that there are $12 billion worth of transactions in a single day and 200 million actual transactions per day.
In the United States, pay will start with American Express, MasterCard, and Visa, so Canadians will not be able to get this initially. The security, as they say, is at the core of pay, and they say, quote, "We're not in the business of collecting your data." So Apple doesn't know what you've bought. They don't know any of the details of the transaction itself, and according to Engadget, the cashier doesn't even see your name when you make the transaction happen.
Well, as a customer, that might make me happy, but I wonder if that's going to be seen as disappointing, because big data is something that people get very excited about. So maybe they're saying that now, but eventually this could be something that they try and monetize themselves.
220,000 merchant locations in the United States on the first rollout. That number seems very high, but of course it'll depend on what kind of merchants we're talking about here.
I just tell you, investors love this. The stock is now at an all-time high, gaining by nearly 3.5%. So regardless of what consumers might be saying on Twitter or Facebook, investors like what they're seeing today.
Okay, here is the list of some of those 220,000 merchants: Macy's, Bloomingdale's, Staples, and McDonald's.
Interesting. Maybe that will help McDonald's. They just came out with their sales. A little bit soggy.
Well, interesting to note, there was a job posting on Apple's headquarters in the United States for an e-commerce position. And there had been a lot of talk as to whether or not this would be McDonald's ability for you to buy a burger and fries anywhere in the world and have it delivered to you. Now it looks like we've got to flip that the other way around. It's actually being able to pay in-store.
I want to know what happens to receipts. For the longest time, I've just been bugged by receipts. They seem like such a relic.
Have you ever bought anything at an Apple store?
Yes.
Have you used the Apple Store app?
I have used the Apple Store app, and I'm not bogged down by receipts, but I've also never had to return anything using the Apple Store. I want to know what this does for receipts, because to me that is the thing that we need to get rid of.
You'll most likely have that receipt emailed to you, much the way the existing App Store makes it possible as well. McDonald's not the only one as well, making Apple Pay available. Whole Foods, or as some call it, Whole Paycheck.
Whole Paycheck,
Because it's not
Bloomingdale's, Walgreens,
Yep.
Dwayne Reed. So your staples, your high-end places, your burger joints.
Disneyland, Disney World. You can actually go to the happiest place on earth and use your Apple Pay and use your thumb, pay for Mickey's products.
It does seem like with those kind of heavy hitters, this is just the beginning in terms of ubiquitous approval. The only thing will be, you know, how fast this can be rolled out, and it still remains to be seen how much Apple is getting for this. You mentioned that for every dollar transaction, was it, they get 30 cents? You know, is this going to be the same arrangement when their transactions are now well above $1?
All right, let's see what else they've got on the docket here. As we go through, the rumor roundup didn't have anything about these particular retailers that would be available, and that's probably the biggest thing out of all of it. Target is going to make itself available to the Apple Pay system as well, and I'm sure Target would be more than happy to have a more secure system.
I wonder who's going to be paying for this update of technology, because as we know from Loblaw, for example, which is, I think it's a 14-year IT expansion. It'll be interesting to see who will be fronting the bill for this, because it does require actually updating the way you process payments, your actual infrastructure. Are they going to be taking Bitcoin?
No Bitcoin as of yet. Pay will be launching in October of this year. It'll be listed as a free update to the iOS operating system. So if you get yourself an iPhone 6 or a 6 Plus with the iOS 8 already built into it, you're not going to be able to do this right out of the gate. Well, as Canadians, we wouldn't be able to do it right out of the gate anyway. But as of October, they'll roll this out as an update. Interesting to note, though, that there are a lot of American companies that have a significant presence in Canada, specifically Starbucks, which is on this list as well, and Target, huge here too, and Whole Foods. These are three major companies on a broad range of retailers that will be making this available.
And they've signed up a number of these startup companies. Groupon is on the list. Uber is on the list. So a number of these big players in the tech space, but also traditional bricks and mortar stores, signing up for this mobile payments platform. As we've been talking about, people do seem quite excited about this potential.
Oh, here, Tim Cook, we're not quite finished yet. We have one more thing.
That's it?
And the crowd goes wild.
I'm disappointed.
What do you mean we haven't talked about the watch yet?
I know, but I was secretly hoping for this fourth wild card item. I was.
Oh, so you figured this is the iWatch. You wanted like an Apple TV?
Just something, maybe some Dr. Dre-shaped iPhone or Apple TV instead. Something extra that we hadn't already thought about. Now, all these partnerships with retailers, maybe, but
here's the quote, and the one more thing is up on the screen there, as you can see it. We've been working hard for a long time on an entirely new product. We believe this product will redefine what people expect from its category. It's probably a coffee mug.
How would you redefine the coffee mug?
Put the handle on the other side.
And maybe a built-in straw.
Yeah. I am so excited, says Tim Cook, and so proud to share this with you this morning.
Has he used the word revolutionary yet?
No, but he says it's the next chapter of Apple's history.
Sorry, we were looking for revolutionary on our bingo.
We're looking for revolutionary.
Or gorgeous or magical.
Okay, they're going to put up a video now.
Beautiful? Did you say beautiful? You didn't.
I'm sure they've said it more than once. You might as well just mark that down. We haven't had bingo yet. What do we need to get bingo?
Gorgeous, point of sale, magical.
Okay,
point of sale must have been said.
Sure.
I'm crossing that off.
Okay.
One more thing. Where is it?
One more thing, and here it comes. So let's put this up here on the big screen.
They're panning.
Oh my goodness, they're going to terraform a planet. No? Okay.
We're in space. We're still on one more thing. And in fact, we have one more thing, was a famous Steve Jobs technique of introducing products.
All right, it looks like this is the watch that we've been waiting for here. Oh, we see the reference to sapphire glass on it as well. And it's got, you know, where you wind your watch?
Yes.
That is actually the controller, it looks like, one of the controllers.
So it is a wind.
So, well, I don't know if it winds in the old-fashioned sense. We got it on the screen behind us here. You can see that. It looks to be anodized aluminum for the strap, or black anodized aluminum instead of silver. It appears there are a lot of different options.
Chain link, more of a traditional
Stainless steel.
wallet.
The big rumor was that this was going to be a rounded face, much like the Moto device from Motorola. That is not the case. But it does appear to be have a variety of different options, including different wristbands, excuse me, so that you can play with it as a style feature as well. Remember we were talking about that. People are willing to spend hundreds upon hundreds of dollars to treat their watches as jewelry, but if you're limited in the color, style, and form, I don't know, this is looking awfully chunky, don't you think?
From someone who's actually at the event saying the video is being shown off in almost sensual detail with every click and turn emphasized. It does look like there are a number of different styles.
It's not iWatch, it's Apple Watch. And the crowd goes wild at the Flint Center in Cupertino,
Was that the surprise I was waiting for?
Yes, exactly.
Shock and awe.
Shock and awe. They're calling it the Apple Watch instead of the iWatch.
Well, we do have Apple Pay, Apple Watch. Are they getting rid of the i?
Yeah, it sounds like they are. We knew that they couldn't call it the iWallet because somebody already had the copyright on that in the United States. Now, the big question is what is this really when it comes down to it? Is this just another step counter? Is this a Fitbit on steroids? What will this do that you won't get out of anyone else? And the standing ovation is continuing to the point where they can't even talk yet about what this is all about.
The stock is now up 4.5%, so far from it being a disappointment to at least investors. The people on the floor, as well as investors, seem to be giving Tim Cook a standing ovation. Again, this is the first time ever that Apple has launched a new product category with a different CEO at the helm.
I'm listening here. They're talking about this being the most personal device they've ever created. Quote, "We've set up to make the best watch in the world, one that is precise. It is synced with the universal time standard." I don't know why they're leading with the fact that it can tell time. But they say that
people forget that, and that's kind of lost in this conversation about, oh, it'll count your steps, it'll count your heart rate, it'll call your mother. It also tells time.
Yes. They say, quote, "We've invented new ways to communicate and connect and work seamlessly with iPhone. It's a comprehensive health and fitness device." Okay, now this is a bit of a concern to me because I have got absolutely zero interest in being healthy, so I'm not inclined to buy something like this.
You couldn't tell, Hainsworth. I mean, you've just got...
Well, they say the camera adds 10 pounds, and there are 4 cameras in here. It's at 40 pounds. Apple Watch took very deep thinking, I'm hearing. Out of this came some remarkable innovations, and they're saying the user interface is one of those things. So in addition to calling it a comprehensive health and fitness companion, apparently the way you're actually going to control it is unique.
And so I'm interested in that because when I look at all these little dots, which are the app, I wonder, you know, my finger, as dainty as I am, is not, you know, precise enough. So I wonder how we're actually going to be able to navigate that, especially if the complaint with the iPhone is that the screen is too small.
It is a multi-touch screen, we're hearing, at least I believe that's what I've just heard. But again, one of the more interesting things about it was the point where you would wind your watch in a traditional analog watch, it appeared to be a control mechanism as well. They're calling it a breakthrough in user interface. They're referring to things like the Mac mouse, the click wheel on the iPod, and multi-touch itself, and they say the Apple Watch requires the same attention. I'm actually really glad they're not calling it the iWatch. I'm getting tired.
It'd be too obvious, the iWatch. Yeah, I guess Apple.
It doesn't pinch to zoom, according to Engadget. So maybe this is not basically an iPhone shrunken down to fit on your wrist. You wouldn't want something of that size, which appears to be about 2 inches diagonally, as a standard interface.
I'm trying to see right now. They're showing a map.
They're calling that dial that I was referring to as the digital crown, with infrared LEDs and diodes that transmit the rotary moves into digital data. So this will be very sensitive and very capable of minute and refined controls.
I imagine you probably can't get this wet.
You better be able to get it wet.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, oh, you're discussing the detail of the magic of how this thing is run, all this intricate detail, and I'm wondering how enduring it will actually be as a product. I certainly can't hop in the water with my iPhone.
Well, the chances of you wanting to hop into the pool with your iPhone is limited, but you can
Tell the
scroll.
folks at GoPro.
Yeah.
They invented that category where
Pretty much.
Apple could have.
Yeah. So you're actually using the digital crown, they're calling it, to scroll through such things as text messages and other information that would pull up on your screen.
Just want to remind people of how big the iPhone is for Apple. It's about 56% of everything they sell is an iPhone. It's $91 billion. So that's what the iWatch and potentially mobile payments is up against in terms of the kind of sales people are expecting it to generate. And there hasn't been many people who said that this is a market that can be worth or as big as anything higher than $10 billion. What do you think?
I think that I'm more interested in what's going on right now as far as the capabilities of this watch. They say it's capable to be worn all day, which you would think is something that shouldn't be written home about. I've got Kid Book Artist tweeting to me here that you enlarge the screen as well using that digital crown. And now, because clearly I don't have any health interest in this, I'm getting a lot of tweets with recommendations as to why I have to start doing so. Johnny Ive is not on stage, but he is now, in fact, taking to the stage digitally through this video as the Senior VP of Design and talking about how you take this watch to that next level.
iWatch, incredible, Johnny Ive, bingo.
We got bingo on the bottom row, do we?
Yes, we do.
All right, so game changer, battery life, incredible, Johnny Ive and iWatch. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I don't know that we can actually say iWatch because they're not calling it
Oh,
iWatch.
they didn't say we said
We said
iWatch.
iWatch.
You're right.
Yeah,
Give
this
it
is not
back.
bingo. This is not bingo. You're not winning. No, no, no.
Edit, undo.
Just fascinated by how they're going to sell this. I want
Are
to know
you
what the
going to
price
buy
point is.
it?
Well, this looks far too chunky for me. If they come up with a women's version, I'll probably wear that. Oh, okay. Well,
They do seem to have a lot of design.
Yeah.
Different designs. They have a red
Nicole's
leather
found something for
strap.
us as well. Let's see if Nicole can find something for us here that might be a little more.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That's my iWatch. You're absolutely right, Nicole. This was tweeted by a crude reporter, which is our BNN Western Bureau Chief, Jameson Burko, as saying that that's probably more along the lines of what I would want.
Although, as I said, your dainty wrist could not support that. If it can't support this,
No,
definitely
you're right.
couldn't support that kind of calculator.
What's interesting, too, is that they're showing off that there are photos from your photo collection that would be available. I wonder how much of this has to do with the connection to your smartphone, your iPhone 6 or what have you, versus actually having onboard storage. I suspect this is a dumb watch.
How so?
Insofar as if you don't have a smartphone, it's not going to do a hell of a lot for you.
I imagine that that's probably it, and that's how they can drive sort of incremental sales. And they're giving something to people who are already in the Apple ecosystem. And remember, there are a lot of people already there that are not buying new devices. This gives them an incentive to buy new devices. So maybe it's not for that outside person who doesn't already have Apple. It's for the user of Apple who's been using it for 5 years but hasn't really purchased anything new. This allows them to, it's almost like an add-on.
We've got a collection of Q&A questions that have popped up on the screen as well. So we'll keep an eye on this for you, too, and as we get towards the end of this conversation, stay with us once the event is over, because we'll go through, Jeremy, for example, is asking for the Canadian launch date for Apple Pay. Jeremy, we don't have that just yet. They do have the NFC in the phone, as you were asking about that. And will Apple Pay hold the receipt for the transaction in my pay account so I don't have to keep track of them? That's a very good question. All of those receipts, you didn't want any more receipts. The Passbook app itself keeps track of all of that for you, so you don't have to worry about your receipts. You'll always have them. Oh, look, they're playing X's and O's on the smartwatch.
It's interesting because when they announced their mobile payment system, they did say explicitly it's going to be in the 6 and it's going to be in the L. However, not the L, we're calling it the Plus.
Yes, yes.
I'm still stuck in my rumor lingo. But they didn't say anything about the iWatch. So they haven't launched the iWatch, but that's an interesting proposition if that payment system is also in your iWatch. You know, you think about going into your purse or into your pants to pull out your phone. What if you don't even have to do that? You just wave your arm around.
This is interesting. In addition to the phone being touch screen sensitive across the face, it also recognizes pressure.
So
This
what-
is something new. This is pretty big. We're looking at it right now, and what it seems to be is that depending on how hard you push down on the screen, you will have different functionality.
Like what?
Well, Johnny speaks really slowly, so I can't get up to speed as to precisely
So you
why.
could essentially share your heartbeat? That's something, if it's as sensitive to measure your heartbeat.
That's the taptic engine that they're talking about there.
Why would you want to share your heartbeat?
You've got a sweetie.
Yeah, but
Think of the neat.
if I suggested to him, I would like to share my heartbeat with you via my smartwatch, I don't think I would hear from him for at least 2 days. He'd say, you need to cool down.
Yeah. My App Central co-host, Maurice Cacho, is asking about the battery life and what the watch battery life is going to be like. We don't know that explicitly at this point, but what we do know is that they're talking about this lasting all day.
And would you charge it? I imagine you would, but on the design right now, I don't necessarily see how you do that logistically.
I'm looking at the internals of it, the innards. It doesn't appear to have a very large battery, so you would most likely have to charge it either wirelessly by just dropping it down on top of the same sort of technology that you've got with your wireless toothbrush. But hang on.
You definitely can't swim with this.
No. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if you can swim with it. On the back of it, it has four sensors. And those four sensors include the heart rate monitor, as well as blood glucose level monitor. I think I just heard Johnny I referred to.
Diabetes, so it's sort of revolutionary.
Or maybe it's just for blood oxygenation levels, which is critical in such things as those Fitbit and other health monitors. The interesting thing is that you can tell now how much blood is actually oxygen is working through your bloodstream by sending a beam of light into your skin, and what gets reflected back, depending on how much oxygen is in your blood, you can actually determine, based upon what the light that bounces back, whether or not you're actually breathing well enough.
If you're not breathing,
Well
presumably
enough.
checking
Well
your
enough.
breath levels on your watch are like last
You're
on your
a runner,
list.
you would know.
Yeah, but I don't know what to do with that information. I run and I don't know that I would be too fussed about what my breathing levels are. It's cool. I'm not denying that it's not cool, but I don't know what I'm going to use it for, and it doesn't make me want to go out and buy this watch.
I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV, so I don't know just yet precisely what that ultimately means.
The design features, as a fashionista here, are the most exciting to me. Is that it's not just this one model. It seems like it's very customizable, and I think
6 different straps and a mechanism that makes the straps interchangeable.
So sort of tapping the high end, but you can make it playful as well. And remember, for a long time with the iPod, that was what Apple was. It was almost a fashion statement to have those white headphones and your multicolored different iPods. So they're sort of going back to that history. Whether people want a multicolor watch will be a different thing.
You're not going to be able to charge it the same way you charge your rechargeable wireless toothbrush. According to Engadget, it's actually going to have a similar connector to the MagSafe charger. This was the charger that they introduced on the MacBook Air that was basically magnetic, and it's mag charger, MagSafe. And the idea is that the magnets hold the charger post to the device so that you don't need to unplug it, you just need to walk away with it.
Okay.
This would be
seems
critical.
easy.
Particularly, you don't want a watch that is awkward to charge or awkward to remove from its charging platform. You just want to be able to pick it up off the nightstand and go.
Exactly. It just seems like part of your nighttime routine. So they've kind of solved that problem. All-day battery life is important.
Let me ask you this. As far as the straps, they have a leather one, they have a metal mesh one, a stainless steel one, as we will show you here, as well as a polymer, which I think is the multicolored versions we're looking at there. There's the multicolored one. Is this
Now, is that leather or plastic?
That's the polymer one. That's not leather.
No.
That one's the plastic one.
Okay, I thought I saw like a reddish leather one with a gold. I would like that if they made that.
Okay, Nicole, can you find that one for us? There it is. That's the one that you're talking about.
Yeah, I like that. That seems classy. A statement piece, definitely. But they're going to have to expand
the problem with gold is that then you can only wear it with certain attire, right? Like you're wearing a fabulous blue outfit. I don't think you'd want to adorn it with a brassy gold, would you?
But you remember forgetting the whole other industry that sprung up with the iPhone, and that's those people that made the cases. So maybe there is something around that area where Apple just farms it all out.
I got to drop a couple of $100 now when I get an iPhone 6. I got to buy a case for it, and then I've also got to buy for the iWatch. Sorry. Apple Watch.
Apple Watch.
A new strap. There are 3 watch collections, apparently.
It always boggled my mind why Apple wasn't in its own accessory business, because that's what everybody does. I don't know a single person who actually has their iPhone without some sort of accessory, and it can range from a place that you get on the corner of a street or Burberry. So this seems like a big market that they could be playing in.
Well, and an expensive one as well. The Apple Edition is made of 18-karat gold.
That's the one I liked?
That's the one you liked.
Yeah.
So open up your checkbook, or...
Somebody's got to open up their checkbook.
Yes. Sugar daddies.
Sugar daddies want to apply here at Amber Kanwar.
But let's come full circle back. Sure, 18-karat gold Apple Edition watch sounds fabulous, but there's going to be a price point associated with this.
And that hasn't come out yet. That was actually my next question as to whether we've seen the pricing. That's going to be critical on adoption. If it's below $200, you can bet that people are not going to think twice if they're already interested in this product and going. $400, $500, then we're really in sort of this awkward category of more expensive than an average watch, but a little bit cheaper than those design quality watches.
I just got a tweet from Christine Tripp here asking or saying, I didn't want the phone before, now I get it. I do. I want the price. They actually look good, comma, surprised. Okay, so as we've been discussing earlier, Christine, the price point on the low-end model on a 2-year contract is expected to be US dollars, $200, $300 for the 64-gigabyte model, and the new 128-gigabyte model, which is going to have all of the music and all of your kids' videos, etc. on it, is $399. These are US prices. We don't have the Canadian pricing just yet, but we know that they are generally the same.
I'm just looking at the actual size of the phones, because that was the big move that Apple did right out the gate. It looks like the screen size is bigger than anything that's available in the market, bigger than the Galaxy S5, the HTC One, the Lumia, as well as the Moto X. That's because theirs is 5.5 inches. The others are 5 to 5.2.
So Tim Cook's back on stage right now, the CEO of Apple, to introduce Kevin Lynch. He is a vice president at the company to give us an actual look and a demo of the Apple Watch itself. Now, what makes this interesting is that Tim himself isn't doing it. Usually, some new products get introduced by the new guy at the top.
But he has shown that he's demonstrated that he is willing to farm things out to elevate the profile of other people.
I've heard that quite frequently about Tim Cook. He does not have the ego that came with Steve Jobs.
And, you know, maybe to the benefit that he allows other people to sort of explore their own ideas. I think what's so...
The iPhone is required with the Apple Watch. We've been discussing whether or not this would be a smart watch that would be capable of working independently of your iPhone. No. You will not want an Apple Watch if you do not already have an iPhone.
Now that seems like a bit of a gamble. On one hand, you have this existing user base, and you're basically saying, okay, all of you, you're already with us, go out and buy this iWatch. On the other hand, Apple has a problem, and the amount of new customers that they're getting every quarter is declining. So by doing this, they're betting that, okay, this new phone is enough to make us get new customers, and they're going to beef up their Apple products right away by getting the watch.
What's interesting, too, is in addition to the digital crown, as they're calling it, that little nub on the side for winding your watch in the old-fashioned world, is that it does, in fact, have that touch screen as we were discussing, and all those little bubble-like icons are the apps themselves, and you flick them around and you can control them and move them to where you want them to be, just as you would with your existing iPhone.
So very similar functionality. So it sounds like, again, Apple is playing off on what's been one of its strong points, intuition.
You can
intuitive
customize.
product.
You can customize the watch face itself. Customize it so by swiping and changing things around, you can have the color of the actual text itself change, blue, purple, what have you. The neat thing too is that the face itself is when I say customizable, I almost mean more configurable. You could add such things as a stopwatch. The NASDAQ Composite Index can be on the face as the default as well.
Maybe they should show their actual stock because it is gaining. It's at an all-time high, up nearly 4.5%. So the market investors have certainly liked what they're seeing so far. It's interesting because all the icons that we're seeing on the new smartwatch, they're all unlabeled. So part of it is you already have to be somewhat familiar with technology and know what the Twitter icon looks like, know what the Facebook icon looks like.
Check this out. They're showing the phases of the moon. It's actually the real-time view of what the moon would look like if you just looked up in the sky.
Again,
It's the
correct moon phase. Come on. It's
you don't know how many
never have to leave
times
the
I
house.
sit around at my desk just
And
really
wonder when it's-
wondering and wanting a fast, easy way to access this. Are we looking at constellations now?
Yeah, we're trying to pull this out for you. The solar system's in there with the real-time positioning of the planets and all that. It's funny that this.
Sorry, we have another word.
Oh, we do?
Aluminum.
Aluminum.
Very close to bingo.
Okay. What do we? Here's what we still need
Aluminum.
for bingo.
Yeah, go ahead.
We need them to either mock Android or refer to something as revolutionary.
I feel like they might have already done that. Apple Watch is built from custom alloys of stainless steel, aluminum, and 18-karat gold. That's the one that I like.
Now, the feature that they're referring to now is something called glances, and the idea is that you swipe up from the bottom of the watch face to see your meetings, your weather, your stocks, or if you're listening to music, you don't have to pull your iPhone out of your pocket or your purse to change the track, although you could just do it on your headphones, I'm sure, but you can see specifically what you're playing.
So you'll definitely need to have your iPhone as well as your watch, not only own the two products, but have them physically close together. So you're not plugging your earbuds into your watch, you're plugging it into a phone.
That's right, and so the phone gets buried as far as things. We're getting some tweets as well, questions about pricing. We don't have
Still
pricing
waiting.
on it just yet. Unfortunately, and quite frankly, fortunately for us, you're not hearing the audio of this because they're playing Coldplay right now.
That seems like I play Coldplay when I'm sad. I'm on the ground. I'm just letting the pain wash over me. I don't think that that's the kind of signal they want to be sending.
Not very uplifting. The notifications are actionable, according to Engadget as well. So you don't have to pull out your smartphone to respond. A calendar invite, you can accept it or decline it, that kind of thing.
And it seems like with their customizable band, it can be high-end to something just for kids. You can even choose the different faces on your watch, including Mickey Mouse.
My very first watch was a Mickey Mouse watch.
And there you go. Now this is what children, they can do SpongeBob, they can do Frozen, whatever is, kind of du jour.
I'm still surprised that they went with the chunky rectangular view. The neat thing about the Moto from Motorola, the 365, was that it was in fact, 360, was that it was a 360 degree, it was a circle. It was a traditional watch face, which brings me whole back to the Mickey Mouse watch that I learned how to tell time on in the first place.
So is this something you'd buy for your daughter? I mean, we're leading up to Christmas.
Oh, golly.
Could you imagine this being on the list? Or does it matter, is it all about the price
She's 8,
point?
going on 8 as it is, and the last thing I need, she's already asking for an iPhone, and so you ask an 8-year-old, why do you need an iPhone? They don't really have an answer.
One thing that I think Apple's going to have to address, because it's not just us that's having an issue with the live stream, is that for large chunks of this live stream, it just hasn't worked. And I'm seeing this on Mashable, and other tech blogs saying, what's up with this? You know, we thought it was our internet connection, but it's not.
No. Fortunately, we can't be blamed for this. Although we were having some problems with the audio earlier on our end. We appreciate you sticking through with us on that. So when it comes to a message on this new Apple Watch, the watch can generate some built-in replies.
I think what we still don't know is whether the iWatch requires an iPhone.
Yes. I will tell you this right now. If you do not have an iPhone, you will not be able to use an iWatch, or an Apple Watch, excuse me.
Okay, well, I
You
feel
should start
like
changing the name of the phone to Apple Phone.
I think that we're in the midst of a rebranding.
You know what? I don't think you're joking about that either.
No,
I think you're
I'm
serious.
not.
And that brings us back to that whole full circle. The iMac was something that Steve Jobs, when he returned to Apple in '95, managed to brand. And nowadays, everything is an I fill in the blank. So maybe this is Apple's attempt, because with the iWatch and the Apple Watch and the Apple Pay service, it's the icon for Apple. So maybe what they're trying to do branding-wise is point out more the logo.
The actual logo.
That is the identifiable bit. And granted, the white silhouette logo is pretty identifiable generally anyway.
Yeah, there's several ways to identify this. I guess, there's apparently you can also dictate to your watch.
Siri is built into the watch. You push in the digital crown, the little knob, to be able to speak to Siri, and it will act the same way Siri acts normally.
I still think the small text, the small screen is going to be an issue for wider adoption. I'm just thinking of my parents and my dad in particular, who has his font at size 72 on his smartphone. I just can't imagine a world where he would be able to operate it just because it's so small.
Siri is going to have to get substantially better if this Apple Watch is going to be used on a daily, regular basis by just Dick Tracy style talking into it. Let's ask Siri what she has to say about the Apple Watch. Maybe she already knows about it. Siri, what do you think of the Apple Watch?
It's your opinion that counts, Michael.
Oh, apparently it's my opinion that counts.
That seems like a stock answer.
Yeah, exactly. In other words, I don't think Siri knows.
It's cool, though. They have emoticons, send a lot of emotion without interacting much. You can be able to send those just as a message.
Right, which brings us back to the idea that you don't need to actually pull your iPhone out to respond. Now, if Siri is built into this, there's a pretty good chance that you could dictate your text message response as well as having those pat emoticon-style responses.
And it does seem like the reason they have that cluster of icons right at the top is so that you don't have to scroll through. If you're the type of person that you are, Michael, and you have hundreds of apps, that can become very tiresome. I wonder what the capability is actually going to be of how much data you can have on this phone.
Well, that'll probably be limited by Bluetooth more than anything else, because chances are it doesn't really have much of storage in and to itself. Further point as well to those who continue to watch and are experiencing some audio issues, we're getting indications as well that it actually isn't our end. That this is something that's inherent in Google Hangouts type environments. So maybe for our next one we'll look at alternatives. So we hope you come back with that. But we've worked out what sounds like, and Kim McDermott, our three-time NASCAR champ and ace director, has been listening in, and we haven't gotten any indication of additional audio errors. So this may just be the vagaries of the internet.
Typical. Blame Google on an Apple event day.
Walking and driving directions, all of that kind of stuff. You can do searches through voice, and the maps are built into it, which of course would be pretty critical.
This is the first product for an iWatch, and it already comes fully loaded. Sorry, Apple Watch. For the Apple Watch, it already comes fully loaded. Can you imagine what the next several generations of this new Apple Watch are going to be like?
Well, let's come full circle back to the conversation then about Moore's Law, the idea that processors double in size and get cut in half in price on a year-over-year basis. Moore's Law has been applied to a whole bunch of different technological advances as well. So if we look at the original iPhone 3G, or the 3, I guess it was just called iPhone, that compared to what we're getting out of the iPhone 6 right now, it's about half the thickness. So similarly, if you're willing to wait 7 years, maybe we'll see half the thickness on the next generation or the generation after that.
If that's something that people actually want, maybe they'll want it thicker and bigger. because it'll give them ability to navigate a little bit easier.
Mm-hmm.
The enthusiasm seems to have pulled back on the part of investors. Only the stock is actually pulling back. It's now up only 2% compared to a gain of nearly 4.5% right at the height of the launch. The payments came out, and then the watch. And then as they're describing it, it's starting to pull back a little.
I'm looking at a tweet here from DJ Conflict. He's asking what we think about the idea of trading in his iPhone 5S. So this is an interesting element to all of this. If you've got a certain version of the iPhone, it makes more sense for you to jump into the new one if that's what you want to do versus others. The iPhone 5S has the built-in Touch ID fingerprint reader, whereas the iPhone 5 does not, and the generations prior to that don't either. So you may be able to do the Apple Pay through Wi-Fi or something like that. If the ability to treat this as a digital wallet isn't important to you, your chances are you're not going to be interested in the 6 if you've got something as recent as a 5S.
That seems like something that could actually drive that incremental demand because it has a feature that no other smartphone really does in terms of the partnerships that are already in place with Apple. You know, we ran through the list from Macy's to Whole Foods to Target to Groupon to Uber. There's already things that people go to every day that have this in place, so that would drive people to look at an iPhone the way they hadn't before. And in a bit of a more serious tone, remember the app Draw Something?
Yes.
Well, it went nowhere, but Apple is now introducing that feature on its iWatch. So you can draw a message and send it over as a text.
Facebook is also going to be a built-in app tied to the new Apple Watch as well. And my podcast co-host Alan Cross just tweeted about the sensor on the underside of the Apple Watch being a heartbeat monitor. Brilliant idea for an app. You ready?
Go ahead.
Lie detector.
Who wants to be wearing a lie detector?
Hey, I've been watching a lot of Homeland lately, so maybe I'm just distracted.
Yeah, that's so it could have specific industry applications, but that was
Perhaps somebody's going to put an iWatch on them.
Or you know, something for a wife to think about giving their husband subtly.
Oh, this is cool. Starwood Hotels has teamed up with Apple. You can unlock your hotel room door by waving your watch in
I
front
don't
of
like that.
Why not?
Because what if somebody steals your watch and they figure out your room? That seems like ripe for malfeasance.
Social engineering would do just as good a job of that by convincing someone you're not. You can go to the Twitter app, look at your timeline, the tweets. You can tweet from the actual unit itself.
How?
I suppose.
You just talk into it? Yeah,
talk
just
into it.
talk into it, tweet this.
They're talking about third-party developer support right now. And, of course, the biggest ones that are out there, Facebook and Twitter, are available on the Apple Watch.
We can ooh and ah over this device, but still huge questions. We don't know whether it's waterproof. We don't know the battery life, although they said it's an all-day thing. We don't know the price. The price is so critical to whether this is something that people are willing to test drive. There's a lot of skepticism about whether this is going to be an in-demand type of product. If they price it low enough, we could see people saying, what the heck, just a couple $100 I can throw out the window on this device. You know, those questions still missing. We don't know the release date, none of that.
We get Trevor writing into us here asking one of the questions about the biometric sensitivity. He asks if that would provide positive identification of the wearer to other devices. That does not seem to be the case at this point.
But you want to make sure that the person you're texting with is the person you're texting with?
That's right.
You've got trust issues.
Well, Trevor's got a brilliant idea there, that if the watch was capable of knowing that it's you and not somebody else wearing it, then that would be that two-step authentication to ensure that that purchase that you're making or that tweet that you're sending is in fact from you.
So your daughter can't borrow your iWatch and say, I'm just going to run to the store.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
No, it doesn't appear to have the same biometric capability that the Touch ID does on the iPhone 6 itself.
Still waiting for you too, Bono.
I know it was only a rumor, and U2 had denied that they were getting involved, but we're still waiting.
Maybe
for
it's Coldplay after all. That would just not be a great way to end the show unless
Oh.
Coldplay decides to change the
That
tone
makes-
of their songs.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. It could very well be Coldplay, considering they did, in fact, put Coldplay up on the screen.
I'm seeing a lot of people saying that that draw something feature is like going to be the new sexting. Can you imagine?
Wow, you'd have to be a really good
You have to be,
illustrator.
quite the Picasso.
Well, Picasso,
not.
I don't think is the appropriate artist that you're looking for there. Renoir, perhaps. There is, of course, a fitness app that monitors activity and movements. There's a workout app where you set goals for specific types of workouts, cycling, running, that sort of thing.
I'll look at some mock-ups of the top.
Oh, yeah, okay.
mock-ups
So
versus
this will be
reality.
interesting. We're going to show you now the difference between the actual Apple Watch and some of the rumors that have been hitting the street, because there were a lot of rumors that this was going to be a flexible screen, which meant that it would be a bracelet style or a circular screen as you're looking at there. Now we know that, yes, the display is flexible, but it's designed to be pressure sensitive more than anything else.
There's a look at it. I kind of like that one that we saw. Yeah, those ones I like. It seems like it has more space. I can see multiple things. I don't have to live in that tiny square. Can you imagine for us journalists what our editors are going to be asking us to write about? It needs to be Apple Watch readable.
Yeah.
Get 3 words in there, maybe.
Yeah. So they're showing a video right now. The Director of Fitness and Health Technologies is boasting about those who want to be more active during their day, to those who work out just a few times a week. It tracks a variety of activities with the accelerometer as well as the custom heart rate monitor. And to track how far you've moved, it uses not only GPS but also Wi-Fi.
The watch does.
The watch does.
Well, that's
Yeah.
pretty good. We still need to know the battery life if you're using an hour of Wi-Fi
It's making me more and more concerned
that we haven't heard.
because we haven't heard about what the actual price is, whether or not it's waterproof. Like these videos, we're not seeing anybody diving into a pool with them. But if this thing isn't waterproof, that is going to be a huge Achilles heel.
Absolutely, especially when we were just looking at some of the runners test driving it. How is just things like basic sweat going to affect the sensors at the bottom? Not saying that it won't or that it necessarily will, but those are features. If we're asking these questions, if people on Twitter are asking them, they should be answering at this time.
So we don't have a lot of the major questions answered as of yet. And this is, again, a bit of a concern. But, again, clearly I'm not someone who is health-focused because there is a lot of focus on this. They have to ensure, though, that they're not positioning this as glorified Fitbit.
So when you look at the features that we have seen, is there something in here that gets you excited, even if you're not, or if you're a self-declared couch potato?
The ability to use it for text messaging and the Siri capability of being able to dictate is neat. The mapping capability that keeps on top of where your next turn is going to be will be very helpful, particularly, I suppose, in a hands-free environment. You can stick it up on the dashboard of your car, your iPhone itself, or you can just get the vibration that says, 1 vibration turn left, 2 vibrations turn right.
I think that this will actually send you notifications on how to lead a healthier life, so you might not be able to avoid it.
Yeah, it shows you how long you've been standing still.
Oh my God. This just sounds like I'll feel worse about myself.
Sitting, as the case may be for us here, an hour and 37 minutes in.
Yeah, exactly. This probably is a record for a new product launch. Normally they're about 2 and a quarter.
We are 10 minutes away from breaking a new Apple record on the iPhone 5 when that came out. That was an hour and 43 minutes long. But this is that one more thing that all the Apple nerds wait for. And it remains to be seen whether or not this is worthy of the one more thing.
I would say until we get the details on how much it costs, whether it's waterproof.
Yeah, I'm listening here to the behind-the-scenes operating system here of it. The watch over time apparently gets to know you and will give you reminders to help keep you motivated. So if you're accustomed to doing a run around a block 12 times, when you hit that 11th time, it's going to start saying, keep going.
So the nagging wife is also obsolete. You now have the nagging watch.
I don't think the nagging wife will ever be obsolete.
That's true. Well, I mean, this is it. We have it. We have the watch, we have the mobile payments, and we have the next generation of the phone. This was largely expected. It seems to be greeted with some degree of optimism. What do you think? How do you think Tim Cook did on his first?
Well, this isn't his first rodeo.
Not his first rodeo, but his first. This was definitely the most hyped Apple launch since Steve Jobs.
He's found his stride, definitely, and in a Steve Jobs era where it was believed that this company was dead if they couldn't have a charismatic leader such as Steve Jobs at the helm, proves that all of those fears of Apple being dead in the water as a result are not founded. He certainly doesn't have the charisma of a Steve Jobs. There's no two ways about that. But this watch has got some tremendous potential.
So much more. Apparently just went up. I don't know what that means.
All right.
So much more.
Yeah.
Is that like and now we're done?
No.
Or is there so much more? Are we in for the long haul?
We might be here for another hour. Not likely. But having said that, the neat thing about the watch and its capabilities is that, could you imagine, and again, I'm only imagining this, I don't know this firsthand, walking up to an exercise machine at the gym that has a chip built into it that takes advantage of this, and it configures it for you because it's talking to your Apple Watch.
Apparently, this could actually work for couch potatoes as well, because you can control your Apple TV with it.
There's Apple Watch, there's Apple Watch Sport, and then there's Apple Watch Edition. And Cook is confirming that it requires the iPhone for what he says seamlessly works together. Seamless on our Apple September event bingo card here? No. Sleek is.
Did I cross
you didn't scratch out
Sorry.
iPhone 6.
I'm caught up
All we need now is innovate. Now, if you hear them at any point say innovate, we've got bingo here.
You didn't hear my ass.
No.
I don't think we're good. That was a long shot.
Oh, breaking news. The Apple Watch will work with the iPhone 5. It will work with the 5C. It will work with the 5S. So if you've got a 4 series, it looks like you might be out of luck. But that's an interesting development, that they are not tying it specifically to this new device.
And that spoke to the gamble that we were thinking it would be earlier, to say that no, it actually only works if you go out and buy a new phone, because your risk is alienating some of your existing customers because you're limiting it, you're forcing them in essence to go out and buy a new phone.
The iPhone 6 and 6 Plus have that M8 chip built into it, as does the 5 series. The phone that doesn't have that specific chip designed for mobility is the 4 series, so this doesn't surprise me.
They have a price, $349 for the watch. There's inductive charging, but still no word on the battery life. $349. That seems like the higher end of what some people were thinking it would be.
Yeah, the expectation was that this watch needed to be in that $200 price point to have it fly off the store shelves.
And it doesn't look... There's the charger.
Oh, there's the charging. Yeah, look at that. Now, it's inductive charging, so yes, it is in fact a lot like your electric toothbrush. It has the MagSafe style connector so that it will actually stay attached to it, so if you jostle around the nightstand in the middle of the night, it won't in fact disconnect. But $349, that's interesting. Due in early 2015.
That's another thing. They're missing Christmas.
Yeah.
And so the timing, I think, and the higher than average price point, maybe what they need is they really need to sell this product. So they're putting it out there. They're going to let the developers work with it. It's what you were saying. Get the tech guys excited about it. But that early 2015, it will not be available for Christmas.
And that's not particularly a problem for Apple. Apple has a history of coming out with new devices. For example, iPads are often released in March. So here's the prediction. If you're thinking about getting an Apple Watch, and $350 seems to be a bit too steep of a price point, first of all, it's not under the Christmas tree for you this year, so you don't have to worry about that. But you get the nerds buying it, the fanboys, the die-hard Apple aficionados. They will spend the $350 in early 2015. I can only imagine that the refresh cycle on this will be such that by the time Christmas of 2015 comes around, not only will we see a bump in the capabilities, but you're also going to see a reduction in the price.
But if the iWatch does grow, or sorry, if the smartwatch does grow in popularity just as a category, and it really does seem like we've heard the most about it than we ever have this year. So leading up to it, you'd imagine that it would be under a number of Christmas trees.
Mm-hmm.
Is that critical when you're test driving or when you're rolling out a new product that is unfamiliar to most people? Because you can easily go to a competitor now and buy one.
Tim Cook confirming that you don't need to pull your iPhone 6 out of your purse to be able to make that Apple Pay payment. It's built into the Apple Watch as well.
Right, so you just flash up
You
your
just
watch.
flash your watch, Superpowers, Super Twins Activate style, at the kiosk to be able to make your payment.
Have they said it's magical?
Nope, no magical. Nothing
Seems
yet.
magical. iPhone 6, got that.
Oh, and there's apparently one more thing. Looks like a new version of iTunes coming out.
I don't think that was expected. We were expecting an iteration on maybe the iPads, which we haven't actually seen.
Yeah. This is Engadget saying that they're talking about their love for music at Apple and that we may see a new version of iTunes. iTunes has become an absolute monster.
Yeah, 800 million users.
Well, I'm talking more about the actual app itself. It's bloated, it's very big, it's sluggish.
What I'll say is I don't go to iTunes and actually shop. I go to iTunes and search and purchase. So that's potentially an opportunity when you're talking about cleaning it up so it's a destination for shopping, because that's what we're missing on the mobile side of things. Anyone can go to Amazon, anyone can go to eBay on their computer. What do we have?
We got Bono. We got the Edge. According to Engadget,
Least it's
U2 is
not
in fact in the
Coldplay.
house. I'm
They
just
were
saying,
they
it
were
was
Bono deniers.
It was the big rumor.
That this was
Yeah,
gonna happen.
yes, U2 itself came out with an official
Bono
statement saying no, in
deniers.
fact. So, in fact, it was right. We had it. You heard it first. We celebrate our love for music with the iTunes Festival, and it's going on as they speak in London at the historic Roundhouse, according to Tim Cook.
Wait, what does that mean?
Sam Smith will be performing.
Huh.
Now, this is interesting because U2 actually left the Apple Fold not too long ago. You may recall that the last BlackBerry launch, or one of them, the U2 360 tour was sponsored by BlackBerry. Originally, they had a deal with Apple. You remember Apple came out with that red iPod that had everything
Yes.
they had ever put on vinyl over within the U2 Fold?
Yeah.
After that, they sort of went their separate ways. And what I had learned was that the reason why was that BlackBerry was willing to open the doors to Bono and his big brain to speak with the engineers and the guys designing the interfaces on BlackBerry, but Apple wouldn't let them do that. So that's why they crossed the street to BlackBerry for the 360 tour.
That was sort of that misguided campaign that they were on where Bono, for a time, was the front of BlackBerry. Then they ditched U2, and they signed up Alicia Keys, and we know how successful that was.
Exactly. Alicia Keys ended up tweeting
From her
iPhone. So, are we done here?
U2 has agreed to perform for you today. We could not be more excited about this. I guess I could have said that with a bit more excitement. It seems like that's the closer, unless they're going to unveil a product of their own.
Yes, U2 coming up with iDrums. So thank you so much for joining us here for our first Google Hangout on BNN.ca, ctvnews.ca, and cp24.com. Let's recap this before we go, as YouTube prepares to take to the stage. You got the iPhone 6 and the 6 Plus, not called the 6L or anything like that.
5.5 millimeters.
5.5 millimeter screen came as expected. We didn't get the sapphire glass as was anticipated.
But it's on the watch.
But it's on the Apple Watch. It's not called iWatch. The mobile payment solution, as they're calling it, will be rolled out in October of this year for the United States with 220,000 merchants, including some of the biggest in the universe, as we know it, Target, Whole Foods, Starbucks,
McDonald's.
McDonald's will be big as well. So as U2 wraps up this whole presentation here, we are wrapping up the keynote itself with no knowledge of what the price points are for Canada just yet.
Yep.
But we do
But
know.
knowing that the phone is coming out September 19th in Canada.
Now that's the 6. We don't know
Yes.
about the 6 Plus just yet and what that price point is. So as it stands right now, we're just going to have to keep an ear to the ground on that. Stay with Business News Network. Follow our Twitter feed at BNN. Amber's is Amber Kanwar, and mine is Hainsworth TV. And as this information hits the street, you know that at least I will bring it to you, because Amber's going to be too busy shopping for watches.
Yeah, my most expensive watch.
Are you going to get it?
Well, I definitely won't get it for Christmas, but we'll see about 2015.
We never even got around to me showing you off this.
Which is, that is the original.
This is the iPhone 20 years ago when it was the Newton message pad. Talk about a difference. You know what?
Except we're almost working our way full circle.
I was just thinking that. Maybe we're on our way back towards screens of this size, although the screen quality itself isn't anywhere near what you're going to get today.
No, you can't take that's almost a 1977 Instagram filter on its own.
I wanted to hand it to you and see if you could even figure out how to turn it on.
Thank you for not publicly shaming me.
Amber, thank you.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure hanging out with you.
Thank you for joining us as well. Thank you to Nicole Sienna as our producer on this, and Kim McDermott as well, keeping us all on track with everything too. So thank you for joining us. We hope you'll be with us next time as well. I'm Michael Hainsworth. Thanks for joining us at BNN.ca.